We have a bit of rough terrain crane. This is the Terex RT100 US and is made by Conrad Models. We've slipped off the sleeve in a most professional manner, and then we find a small instruction sheet for the model. It has a parts list and describes most of the functionality, but there's no reeving diagrams for the hooks. Let's lift the lid and then we see the crane sitting in the bottom tray, and there's a fly jib in the top tray. We'll get the crane ready for going on a transporter, so we'll start by adding mirrors, and there's one on the cab, and there's also one that presses in on the opposite side. The outrigger pads are separate parts, so we'll clip one on each of the outriggers. And there's also a small extension that we can add onto the boom, and that just presses in and gives us a single line hook. We need to attach the hook, so we'll pull some rope off of the winch drums. And as if by magic, we've done some reeving and the two hooks are on. And we've attached them to the tying on point at the front, but the chains are not included with the model. One other item we can add on is the fly jib, and that goes on hangers that are on the boom. Looking underneath, we've got a tough looking chassis, and the transmission is fully modelled in plastic, and a feature of this type of crane is the big chunky tyres. The tanks are nice, and they have filler caps on the top, and the plastic hubs of the wheels are detailed on the inside. The outriggers have got some simple chevron graphics, but the exhaust system has a nicely etched box, but not much exhaust can come out of the pipe because it hasn't got a hole. At the front there are metal stairs and painted lights, and it's good that there's a tying on point at the front. The cab has got plastic grab rails and a mirror, but there are no windscreen wipers. There are access steps and there are coloured lights at the front. The winches are plastic and there are motors, but there are no hoses. Around the crane there are some other plastic parts, and there are some highlighted details in the casting. The lattice fly jib is nice, and there are metal pulleys throughout. And the main boom has got a simple cable drum. The boom axles and pulleys are all in metal, and a small extension part is plastic. The hooks are nice metal parts, with the main block having metal pulleys. Back we go underneath, and both axles have very good steering, and there's also some oscillation on the rear axle. The model is heavy and it rolls well, without being free rolling, so it's unlikely to be a runaway. Because each axle steers independently, you can replicate any of the modes of the real crane, and that includes a very tight turn, and it also includes the weird and wonderful crab mode. Anyway, enough scuttling about, let's get onto the work site, and once off the low loader we can get rigged up for work. The outriggers are two-stage with tough plastic beams, and winding down the pads reveals smooth pistons, and it's all strong enough to hold the crane wheels free. Raising the boom works very well, and it uses Conrad's locking ram jacket. A key is supplied, and you just need to make sure it's all done up tight enough so that the ram doesn't slip. To reduce the low loader weight, the crane didn't travel with its counterweight, but this crane can load up its own. The first thing we need is to have a flat deck, and there's a neat feature, which is that the handrails to the stairs can be lowered. The crane can then lift on its own counterweight and position it on the deck, and once it's there, the crane can rotate round. Once in position, the real crane picks up its counterweight using the jacks, but here we'll just use hands. We could use jacks, but nobody called Jack is available at the moment. With the counterweight on, the crane rotates away. Another feature on the model is that it has a fully tilting cab, and it's able to maintain any pose that you set. You extend the telescopic boom in the usual way by just pulling out the sections, and when you reach maximum extension there's a locking clip system. If you want to operate the winch, then it's a finger or thumb job, and I have to say that your skin is going to wear out long before the drum wears out. There is one neat little twist on the winch drums, and that is that the winch drums have a little bit of moulding which lines up with a slot. So if you want to lock the winch drum, you can push the motor in, and that stops any rotation. If the main boom's not got enough for you, you can put on the fly jib, and it's a folding version, so you can rig the model at either half or full extension, and you lock the full extension by inserting a plastic pin. You then clip the jib on at the boom head and fix it with pins on one side. There's also another feature on the fly jib, which is that you can have one of two offset angles. It's a ratchet system, so you need to pull out a pin on each side and then repin it to get the jib angle that you want. Yes, it's time for the good old dim check, so let's get the tape measure out. And to the top of the main boom it's about 31 inches or 79 centimetres. And if we go large to the top of the fly jib, it's about 44 inches or 112 centimetres. This is another tough and robust model from Conrad, as befits a rough terrain crane. It's got some nice detailing, but the strong point is the functionality, so that means you can pose the model in many different ways. This is the US version of the model, and overall it's very good.